Sounds like you might have heard this before. I know I have. That's because this song's called Alice's Restaurant. It's about Alice and the restaurant. But Alice's Restaurant was never the name of a restaurant. That was always just the name of the song. And I guess that's why I still call this song Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track, and you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Well, it all started a long time ago. It was about 35 years ago on Thanksgiving. 35 Thanksgivings ago that my friend and I decided to go up and visit Alice at the restaurant. But Alice didn't used to live in a restaurant. She used to live in the church nearby the restaurant, in the bell tower, with her husband Ray and Facha the dog. And living in the bell tower like that, they used to have a lot of room downstairs where the pews used to be. And seeing as how they had all that room, they decided that they didn't have to take out their garbage for a long time. We got up there, found the place was filled with garbage, and we decided it'd be a friendly gesture for us to take the garbage down to the town dump. So we took the half a ton of garbage, put it in the back of a red VW microbus, took shovels and rakes and implements of destruction, and headed on toward the town dump. We got there and there was a sign, a chain across the road saying, "Closed on Thanksgiving." We had never heard of a dump closed on Thanksgiving before. So with tears in our eyes, we drove off into the sunset, looking for another place to put the garbage. And we didn't find one, till we come to a side road. And off of the side road, there was a 15-foot cliff, and at the bottom of the cliff, there was another pile of garbage. We decided that one big pile would be better than two little ones. And rather than bring that one up, we decided to throw ours down. That's what we did. Drove back to the church, had a Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, went to sleep and didn't get up until the next morning when we got a phone call from Officer Obi. He said, "Kid, we found your name on an envelope at the bottom of a half a ton of garbage. Just wanted to know if you had any information about it." And I said, "Yes, sir, Officer Obi. I cannot tell a lie. I put that envelope under that garbage." It was after talking to Obi for about 45 minutes on the telephone that we finally arrived at the truth of the matter. And Obi said we had to go down, pick up the garbage. We also had to go down and talk to him at the police officer station. Now, friends, there's only one of two things that Obi could have done at the police officer station. And of course, the first thing was he could have given us a medal for being so brave and honest over the telephone, which wasn't very likely, and we didn't expect it. The other possibility was that he could have bawled us out and told us never to be seen driving garbage around the vicinity again, which is what we expected. But when we got to the police officer station, there was the third possibility that we hadn't counted on. And we was both immediately arrested, handcuffed. And I said, "Obi, I don't think I can pick up the garbage with these handcuffs on." He said, "Shut up, kid. Get in the back of the patrol car." We sat in the back of the patrol car and drove to the, quote, "scene of the crime," unquote. Now, friends, I want to tell you about the town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where this was happening. They got 3 stop signs, 2 police officers, and 1 police car. But when we got to the scene of the crime, there was 5 police officers and 3 police cars, being the biggest crime of the last 50 years, and everybody wanted to get in the newspaper story about it, and they was using up all kinds kinds of cop equipment they had hanging around the police officer station. They was taking plastered tire track footprints, dog-smelling prints. And they took 27 8x10 color glossy pictures with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. They took pictures of the approach, the getaway, the northwest corner, the southwest corner. That's not to mention the aerial photography. And it was after the ordeal we went back to the jail. Opie said he was going to put us in a cell. He said, "Kid, I'm going to put you in the cell. Give me your wallet and your belt." And I said, "Opie, I can understand you wanting my wallet, so I don't have any money to spend in the cell. But what do you want my belt for?" He said, "Kid, we don't want any hangings." I said, "Opie, did you think I was going to hang myself for littering?" Opie said he was making sure, and friends, Opie was. Because Opie took out the toilet seat so I couldn't hit myself over the head and drown. Took out the toilet paper so I couldn't bend the bars, roll the toilet paper out the window, slide down the roll, having to escape and get away. Opie was making sure, all right. And it was about 4 or 5 hours later that Alice, remember Alice? This is still the song about Alice. She come by, and with a few nasty words to Opie on the side, she bailed us out of jail. We went back to the church, had another Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, went to sleep and didn't get up until the next morning when we all had to go to court. We walked in, sat down. Opie come in with the 27 8x10 color glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. He sat down. A man come in. He said, "All rise." And we stood up, and Opie stood up with the 27 8x10 color glossy pictures, and the judge walked in with a CNI dog. Sat down. We sat down. Opie looked at the CNI dog, and then at the 27 8x10 color glossy pictures, and looked at the CNI dog. And Opie began to cry. Because Opie come to the realization that this was a typical case of American blind justice. There was no way the judge was going to look at the 27 8x10. Well, it didn't matter, because we was fined $25 each, and we had to pick up the garbage in the snow. Of course, that's not what I come to talk about this afternoon. I just thought I'd mention it. Because I know there's probably some people standing out here thinking this is one of these nostalgic ballads or something. Well, I hope so. But you never know the way the world is today. You know what I'm saying? They still got that building in New York City on Whitehall Street, and others like it all around America. And that's where you used to have to go in, get injected, inspected, detected, infected, neglected, and selected. And I remember I had to go in there one morning a long time ago for a physical examination. So I got good and drunk the night before, because I wanted to feel my best when I went in that morning. I mean, I wanted to feel, I wanted to look, I wanted to be like the all-American kid. And when I went in that morning, I was hung down, I was brung down, I was hung up, I was all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly-looking things. I walked in, I sat down. They gave me a piece of paper, said, "Kid, see the psychiatrist, room 604. I went up there. I said, "Shrink, I want to kill. I mean, I want to kill. I want to see blood and gore and guts and veins in my teeth, eat dead, burnt bodies. I mean, kill, kill, kill." And I started jumping up and down, yelling, "Kill, kill." And he started jumping up and down with me. And we was both jumping up and down, yelling, "Kill, kill, kill, kill." Till the sergeant come over, pinned the medal on me, sent me down the hall, said, "You're our boy." I didn't feel real good about it. But I proceeded on down the hall, getting more injections, inspections, and all kinds of stuff that they was doing to me at the thing there. And I was there for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. I was there for a long time, going through all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things. They was inspecting, injecting every single part of me. They was leaving no parts untouched. And I proceeded through until I finally come to see the very last man. I walked up, I said, "What do you want to see me about?" He said, "Kid, we only have one more question. Have you ever been arrested?" I told him the story of the Alice's Restaurant Massacre with 5-part harmony, full orchestration, all kinds of other phenomenon. He stopped me there. He said, "Kid, did you go to court?" I told him the story of the 27 8x10 color glossy pictures with the circles and arrows. He stopped me again. He said, "Kid, I want you to go over, sit down on that bench that says Group W. Now, kid." I went over there. Group W. Group W is where they used to put you if you might not have been moral enough to join the army after committing your special crime. There was all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly-looking people on the bench. There was mother rapers, father stabbers, father rapers. There was father rapers sitting there on the bench next to me. I mean, these was mean, nasty, ugly, horrible, crime-fighting guys. And the meanest, ugliest, nastiest, the meanest father raper of them all was coming over to me. And he sat down next to me and said, "Kid, what'd you get?" I said, "I didn't get nothing. I had to pay $25 and pick up the garbage." He said, "Kid, what was you arrested for?" And I said, "Littering." And they all moved away from me on the bench there. Till I said, "And creating a nuisance." And then they all come back and shook my hand. And we had a great time on the bench talking about crime, mother stabbing, father raping. We was smoking cigarettes and all kinds of stuff, having a good time. Till the sergeant come over. He had some paper in his hand. He held it up. He went like this. He said, "Kids, this piece of paper got 37 warrants for them. Fast. One no time to crime, detail to crime. You got to say, pretend to about the crime. The rest of the officer's name kind of thing got to say." And he talked for 45 minutes, but nobody understood a word he said. But I wrote down the massacre like I was supposed to. And I put down my pencil, turned over the piece of paper, and there on the other side of that piece of paper, in the middle of the other side, away from everything else on the other side, underlined and capitalized, read the following words: "Kid, have you rehabilitated yourself?" I went over to the sergeant. I said, "Sergeant, you got a lot of gall to ask me if I've rehabilitated myself. I mean, I'm sitting here on the Group W bench. I'm sitting here on the Group W bench because you want to know if I'm moral enough to join the army, burn women, kids' houses, children's villages after being a litter bug." He said, "Kid, we don't like your kind. We're going to send your fingerprints off to Washington. And friends somewhere in Washington, enshrined in a little folder, is a study in black and white of my fingerprints. They're still there. Of course, the only reason I'm singing you the song this afternoon is because you may know somebody in a similar situation sometime. Even some of you could be in something like that sometime sooner than you're standing out here thinking about today. And if you ever find yourself in something like that, you don't know what to do. There may be only one thing. Well, there may not be anything you can do, but there's something you can try. And that's to be wherever it is you're supposed to be. You just walk in, sit down, wait your turn. When you get a chance, you stand up, you go something like this. You say, "Oh, shrink, excuse me, man, but you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant," and walk out. Imagine one person, even today, walking in, singing some Alice's Restaurant, walking out. They goes, hey, that guy's 30 years too late. Get that guy out of here. Or imagine two of them walking in hand, singing in harmony. I don't know what the problem is, but it seems like it'll still keep you out. So imagine three of them. They might think of some kind of organization or something. Or maybe even 50. Maybe 50 people a day going in, singing some Alice's Restaurant, walking out. Friends they might think it's a movement, and most of them be too young to know what a movement was. But that's what it was. It was the Alice's Restaurant anti-massacre movement. That's what it was, that's what it is, and I guess that's what it's always gonna be. All you've got to do to join is to sing it with me as it comes around again on the guitar. With feeling. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can... No. You can't start singing louder just at the end or something. You would have thought after all this time, you would have learned by now. If you want to end war and stuff, you got to learn to sing loud all the time so people can hear you. Now, I know this is a long song. Believe me, I know. It's pretty long when it first came out 30 years ago. It was like 18 minutes on the record. I'm not sitting up here trying to make it any longer today, even though I could. I'm still not proud or tired. Of course, I know there's probably people here in this crowd today that don't believe that songs can change the world or that songs can change the destiny of nations. And I wouldn't have thought so either. Of course, I know something some of you may not know, and I'm reminded of it during, when everybody's running for president and stuff. It sort of awakens memories. I remember back years ago when Jimmy Carter was elected president, because I got an invitation to his inauguration, and I knew I had to go because I knew it'd be the only one I ever got. Been right so far. But I went to Washington. I'm not making this up. This is true now. I went to Washington, and there's people partying all over. Everything was fine until in the evening somebody come and tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around. It was Chip Carter, the president's son. I had met him. I knew him. I said, Chip, how you doing? He said, Arlo, I've been looking everywhere for you, man. I said, Chip, how come? He said, Arlo, I've got something very important to tell you. I said, Chip, what is it? He said, Arlo, we were moving our stuff into the White House, and in the Nixon record library, we found a copy of your record, Alice's Restaurant. I looked at Chip Carter. I looked deep into the man's soul. I said, Chip, was it open? And in slow motion, he nodded yes, it had been open. And I want you folks out here this afternoon to know that I did not think about that for years, till just a few years ago when Richard Nixon passed away, and we was all thinking about him. And maybe there's some folks here too young to know, but see, Richard Nixon was president of the United States. And he used to like to tape stuff. If you can imagine a world before VCRs and cassette decks is everywhere, you can imagine a man who was truly ahead of his time. He taped everything that went on in the White House, and everything was fine until one day they started playing back the tapes, and people found out what was going on in there. But it wasn't anything on any tape that got the president in trouble at first, so much as it was what he had erased from the tapes. What he didn't want people to know what he was listening to. And there was one particular famous gap in one of those tapes that I was thinking about one day when I said to myself, Arlo, how many things in the world are 18 minutes and 20 seconds long? Probably just a coincidence, but it's good enough for me. So when the song comes around again, remember that songs can change the destiny of nations. You just have to know the words and have the feeling. And wait for it to come around again on the guitar. Can get anything you want at Alice's except in Alice. You can't get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Da 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 da. At Alice's restaurant.